You're listening to 3 Minute Marketing, where we interview the world's top growth marketing leaders and distill their knowledge into actionable, bite-sized insights. Now here's your host, Chris Mechanic.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 3 Minute Marketing. I'm your man, Chris Mechanic. Here at 3 Minute Marketing, we interview some of the world's foremost growth and performance marketing leaders, and then break it down into nice, snackable 3-minute segments for you. I'm super excited to have here with me today Kevin Alansky. Kevin's currently CMO of Jedox, but you're really a legend, man. Like in the DC, Northern Virginia corridor of these tech CMOs. Kevin previously had been at Blackboard, Cvent, Higher Logic Analytics. And now has landed at Jedox, and they're very lucky to have you. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Chris, and thanks for giving me the nod. I guess it's good to be a local legend. Of course, I saw Udi on your show recently. I'm a big fan of his, and he's definitely got a lot of national and global spotlight. So it's good to be here.
You probably will too soon, because I know Jedox is.
If I could be put in the same vein as and level as Udi, that's a huge compliment. So good.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I'm super excited to speak with you. I've got a relevant and timely question for you and for many others. And so if you're ready,
let's do it.
So the question for today is, you're a CMO. First 90 days, what's your plan to maximize your success and impact?
Yeah, so it's relevant because I'm right in the throes of it. I'm about 60 days into the role here at Jedox, and the first 90 days are so critical. Often it's sometimes referred to as the honeymoon period, but a better way that I think about it, and something I've learned along the way, it's really the extended. It's really you should think of it as the extended interview, right? So you go through this pretty laborious, especially for a CMO role. You go through a very hard and thorough process on interviewing, but it really shouldn't stop on day one. Really, you're being evaluated by your CEO, your board, your other executives, your team. And those first 90 days are critical, and you got to get a lot done. And it's also a unique time right now because we're thinking about 2022 planning, and to being able to execute and plan and build out our plans in concert with me ramping on the business is just a unique time to join a company. So basically, to me, the important factors are really gaining that alignment and trust. Am I setting up things well, that I have the trust of the CEO, the rest of my executive team, my marketing leadership team, the board, the sales team, most importantly, right? So that we can have our go-to-market motions being prepared and kind of align as we're thinking about that way. The next thing I'd like to do is get close to the business, really spending time with one-on-ones with my team, really understanding what's happening at the ground level to really have a strong sense of what they're doing. So as I'm thinking about things and the impact that I can drive, such as reorging the design of the marketing team so that we can optimize better, rebuilding our demand funnel. So the only way that happens is to get close to the business and close to the people so they truly can understand what you're doing. And then, ultimately, it's about setting Q1 campaigns, in this particular case for 2022. So for, again, back to the first 90 days here, it's really setting up your quarterly plans, making sure you set accurate targets, opportunity stage, if you're still in a lead gen model, thinking about things in those capacity, and then just having, again, the right alignment with the sales team, and then rolling it out and setting up the right cadences to be able to measure success and the performance of it. So in a nutshell, those are the ways that I like to think about it. So think about it as the extended interview, getting close to the business, and gaining trust would be my top 3 things within the first 90 days.
That's great. That's awesome. And thank you for that summary at the end. I usually do the summary at the end, but you summarized it perfectly.
So you get 30 seconds back.
So getting close to the business is huge. Obviously, aligning with the teams are huge. And then that concept of extended job interview, I think, is also pretty interesting. And there's some stuff to unpack. So folks, if you enjoyed this, please give us a like, a comment, or share it with somebody to help us grow our reach. And then Kevin, if you could just let the folks know where they could learn more about you or Jedox.
Yeah, no, Jedox is jedox.com. what we do is financial planning and analysis for all sizes of companies, a lot in the enterprise. And you can reach me on LinkedIn. The last name is Alansky, and or on Twitter or other places. So cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Stick around or look around this video for some show notes or for some bonus footage, because Kevin and I are going to continue talking here for a few minutes, and we hope you enjoyed.
Thanks, Chris.
I think that pretty much each of those things can be unpacked. And I'm interested to know sort of like micro level detail. Like, for instance, when you get to know a business, what are your tricks? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is, at least a unique case that I was entering in most recently here with Jedox, and of course, we're backed by Insight Partners. Insight Partners has a tremendous organizational structure themselves, where they offer a marketing center of excellence, and the folks who lead that are fantastic, former CMOs themselves, and they bring a very powerful network. Great companies that are in there. In fact, one of the MarTech tools, 6 Sense, they're Insight backed, and to get to know Lotney and other folks there and have that relationship. So when you get close to the business, you're also learning the best practices of what's the latest and greatest, what other companies are doing. So you have like a high level thing on one side coming from the Insight Partner Network, and then on the other side, it's just taking my experience and to really evaluate where we are today. So when I'm learning and getting close to the business, my brain is kind of churning and thinking, what are the opportunities? What are we doing well? What are we not doing so well? What are ways that I can kind of make improvements over the time? And I think one thing I'm careful now is to make sure that we master certain things, because if the team hasn't never done these motions before, you got to get them to crawl, walk, and then run. So some areas of the business are much further along than I expected. Some are about what I expected, and then taking in the best practices plus my experience plus where we are in a current status. Then I'm trying to map out quarterly, how do we ramp up the team and get them to a certain perspective.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I have more questions about that, but for the purpose of time, I want to move on to kind of the people side of things. And you and I have known each other for a long time. Before we met, I'd actually seen you speak at an event. I think it was the Mid-Atlantic Marketing Summit.
Yeah.
Nice room. You did a great talk. But for whatever reason, I didn't think you were an asshole, but like you didn't like fit the picture of like the perfectly nice guy. But then in working with you, I saw the way that you interact with your team, and it turns out, you're very understanding and very empathetic, but still kind of hard driving at the same time. So how do you approach, like, say, your own marketing team to build to earn their trust, and the sales team as well? Like, do you take them out for a beer, or like how?
It's a good question. I mean, a few different things. One, you have to really relate and pay attention, and if you're really listening, which is good. And in this age of working remotely and, notifications from Slack and other things are kind of bombarding us. So if you really can concentrate, I try my best, and sometimes it's not always good enough, but I really try to listen. And what I mean by that is focus, right? Really try to focus. And I think people will naturally say and feel that Kevin is really listening to me, and I build up a sense of trust. So once I could do that, then you get more stories, you get more of their concerns. You get this opportunity and this privilege really of working with your team. And the more they can open up to you and the more that they can trust you, then you'll get more value out of it. Yes, I'm a nice guy. Yes, I demand success. I want to win. I mean, I want to win in sales, just like, my sales counterparts and trying to move the needle there. But I think if people understand if it's coming from a good place, I also get personally invested in people's careers. I've had a number of people who work for me who are VPs or CMOs in their own right, and nothing can make me happier. So I've had a lot of good mentors along the way, careers, relationships are often longer than careers. And, to me, that's a good mentor of mine, Tim Hill, gave me that feedback. So I try to embrace some of the things that I've learned along the way and give back to the team in the same capacity.
Yep. Now, before the call, we were talking about how the CMO seat might be the hardest seat in the C-suite. I know a lot of CEOs are all about marketing and they believe in it. Some are more skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some stat that's says some 70% of CMOs consider marketing like a necessary evil or an expense, et cetera. How do you go about building and developing the trust and the buy-in with the very top level leaders? Do you have any roles or any rituals or routines or reports or anything that you kind of proactively do to tell your story kind of?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm in a unique situation now. This is a truly, I guess that, there's different roles that I've held at the CMO that, maybe you can stretch the title to say you're global, but this is truly a global. I've got 26 people on my team. Only 3 of us are based in the United States. So that means I've got 23 people all around the world, from Singapore to Australia to France and Germany. So you're talking about time differences. And my CEO, he's based in Germany. And so you're talking about a 6-hour time difference. So I really have limited periods of time. So a couple things. One, our one-on-ones a little bit more extended, where we have more time to focus on some of the issues. And we come in with pretty tight agendas to make sure that we're covering all the things that we need to cover, make sure have the resources and all that. The other thing I've been doing more lately is sending them quick sound bites, and I'll send them a quick email of here are the highlights in just bulleted fashion, and say, kind of keep them more connected to what I'm thinking, and kind of that constant communication is been good to kick it off that way. I think it's always hard. CEOs are always extremely busy, pulled in multiple directions, but for me to do my part, just to make sure he feels comfortable and I gain his trust, just to make sure I do even just quick sound bites over Teams or over email is key, to make sure we stay in constant touch.
Yep. I think that's absolutely key. And I think that, the proactively reaching out is something that we always talk about, internally here is with clients is, tell your story proactively. Don't wait for them to ask for a report, because at that point you're already dead in the water. Just get out there and be proactive and tell that story.
Absolutely.
Easier said than done, I know, but but it sounds like you got a pretty solid plan. Now, what is I know, you described your whole onboarding plan. What's your major focus right now? Is it building the team, growing leads in the short term, or what's your, if you have your top 3, what's your number 1?
Yeah, just I would say alignment in the go-to-market motions. We were set up quite uniquely before. We had a previous CMO who was also our chief product officer, and I love the fact that Rolf is his name. Rolf is still with the business, and he's focusing exclusively on the product, but he had been managing the team for several years. And it's really, as we're growing and expanding, it required dedicated leadership in the product area and then marketing. So I'm in a unique position where my former head of marketing is still with the company. So it's a great position to be in. So I'm leaning very heavily on Rolf and his wisdom here. But as I'm thinking about it, the org structure is need to change, where we are thinking more about our global motions and how we launch campaigns and our effectiveness there, so that we have a single story in which we're telling that gets into the field. And then where previously it was very field driven, and lots of reasons, post positive, but some of the challenges, that message could be ill-timed in different parts of the region, where when people go back to the website, they may be seeing a different message in region as opposed to what they're seeing on the website. So my job is to just get that orchestration moving in one direction with one global motion, and aligning the team and the growth positions that we want to hire, so that we have those global motions, and we build one funnel, and we have one set of campaigns that are going out, more of the 80-20 rule of how we roll things out. So,
yep. Well, I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm sure you'll do fantastically well,
as
you always have. Let's go ahead and move to wrap here. I know you've got a hard stop.
Yes.
But we really appreciate your time, and I would love to have you back on.
Be great. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No. If maybe I can get 6 minutes next time. If you double my quota, I will fill it with some additional airtime.
Nice. All right. That sounds perfect. Well, hey, thank you very much. And again, for y'all still listening, please do drop us a like, a comment, or share this with one of your friends. And check out also Kevin Alansky on LinkedIn and Jedox, Jedox. coming to a search engine results page near you, I'm sure.
Well said, Chris. Thank you for being.
All right,
Thank
man.
you, and I enjoyed being here.
Talk soon.